So this is the second module of the pentagons and pentagrams course, and we're going to get into the drawing. So again, I will have a PDF with all of the sequences for you so that you don't have to retain any of the information and you can kind of get into the drawing a little bit more. We will get right into it. Okay, now all of these drawings are created in accordance with an 11 by 14 drawing pad. So I think that if you have a smaller pad, you just want to scale down probably to like a 2-inch radius, right? So that your compass is 2 inches wide, which will give you a 4-inch diameter and circle. So you want to start on landscape orientation. And we're going to begin by creating a single circle in the lower left quadrant of your paper, right? And you can really ballpark. This does not require precision, but you're going to put your compass down at the point where you can create a full circle on the bottom middle leftish side, things just to be precise. And you're going to label that circle A. Okay, and you want to do these circles fairly lightly. Almost all of the steps that you'll see are guidelines for the pentagon and will need to be erased in order to have a nice clean pentagon. So light circles, light lettering, and it'll be easier when you get to your pentagon. So now what you want to do is on the horizontal axis, right? This is not a precise placement. We're not using our ruler to make sure that it's perfectly horizontal. We're just going to eyeball it. And you're going to put your compass point down right in this general area. You want to get as level as you can. Compass point down, creating the second circle and marking that B. So that's going to be circle B. Because you need 2 points in order to draw an accurate line. And so now we've got 2 points. So we'll get to our horizontal line in a minute, but hopefully you've got these 2 circles which are creating this central shape, which is called the Vesica Piscis. And I actually have an entire class on that shape because it is so potent, so powerful, just like all of the other geometry, only in its own unique way. So now we're going to use that intersection at the bottom of the 2 circles right here. You're going to put your compass point at that intersection and you're going to create a half arc, right? So we don't need the whole circle. And that's why we start building the geometry at the bottom of the page, because we're going to build up and the pentagon will be at the top of the page. So half an arc, and then that point that we just used is point C. Okay, so now we've got point A, B, and C. Nice and light with our guidelines. Now we're getting to our vertical and horizontal lines. So you want to use point A and point B as your coordinates for your horizontal line. So go ahead and line your ruler up. Again, nice light line. Part of it will be the actual pentagon, but we can darken it in a minute, but a lot of it's going to be erased. And then for your vertical line, we're going to use the bottom point of C and the top intersection point of the 2 circles, which you could label D, point D, and we're going to use those 2 points for our vertical line to bisect the Vesica Piscis. So going through the top intersection of point D and the bottom intersection of point C, you're going to mark this intersection of the circle C, with the vertical line. You're going to label that point E. And that is really the key point to the pentagon. The natural tendency is to use the intersection of the horizontal and the vertical. It'll throw you off every time. Stay focused on point E and it's going to go well. Also, down here you want to label the right hand intersection of the circles as point F, and then the left hand intersections of the circles as point G. Now we're going to be bisecting the shape on the right and left axes, and you're going to use point F and point E. Remember, it's E that we're going through, not the intersection of the central lines. And you're going to use your bisecting line to create a point at the top left perimeter of the circle, and that'll be point H. You want to do that same procedure on the other axis, going through G and E to create I on the top right. Okay, and then, so you want to create a little hash mark there, compass point on I, little hash mark above the central line of the shape. And then you want to take your compass and put it on point H and make the same kind of hash mark crossing over the line from the other side. That should give you basically an X marks the spot. And literally we'll make that point X, and you want to draw the line connecting I up to X and then H up to X as well to complete the pentagon. Okay. And then it's always a little bit heartbreaking, but what we're going to do is we're going to erase all of the grid lines and guidelines in order to get the pentagon. So lots of steps for a very little shape. And go ahead and take your time erasing. What we're going to do is get into fractalizing, right? I went into some depth about how the shape fractalizes inward and outward. So once you've got your pentagon, now we're going to create the pentagram. And for the sake of explaining it easily, you want to mark very lightly on the outside. Starting at the top is point A, to the right is point B, the bottom right is C, bottom left is D, and top left is E. And that's only to help you connect the points for the pentagram, because you're going to be connecting the points in a way, this is our first example of a closed geometry, where you can start from point A, drawing a line down to point C, drawing a line connecting C to E, and E over to B, and then B down to D, and then D up to A, right? So we've started and ended at the same point. And we're going to do some meditations with the heptagon. We're going to get into really spending some time with that meditative process. You might have been drawing the lines and attending to which letters to connect, but my motions were actually in a occult magic tradition of starting at the top, which you could also imagine as starting at the human head, crossing down the body to the right leg, crossing up over the body to the left arm, crossing across the body to the other arm, and then crossing the body down to the left leg, and then back up to the head. So you've created this grid. You are activating your physicality. In this motion, you can activate the subtle energetic system of your body. You can call forth the latent elements of your being that know how to manipulate time, space, reality. You're calling in so much with these practices. So we'll get into that a little bit more in the meditation review. But I encourage you to look a little bit into the occult wisdom and find out about the ritual use of the pentagon and the pentagram and our star bodies. We saw before with the flower of life, there's the Merkaba and the 64 star tetrahedron. And this is simply another way of harnessing the organic alchemical potency that is the human being. And you can take one step further and you can fractalize into the pentagon. With that initial pentagram, you can see you've created another pentagon that then gives you the points for the pentagram, and on, right? And so you can usually get a couple of iterations. So there we have dipped our toes in the waters of the pentagons, pentagrams, and pentacles. And please do some research, learn a little bit more about how geometry could serve your well-being. And I will see you for the heptagon segment.